I'm Andy Clark.
And I am Brian McCollough.
And this is That Time I Got Dropped. All right, Brian, tell us about yourself. Where are you from and when did you fall in love with bikes?
I've loved two wheels as long as I can remember, but I kind of cut my teeth racing motorcycles and eventually was racing AMA Pro Motocross and Supercross professionally. And eventually, everyone starts training motorcycle or road or mountain. So back in the day, Johnny O'Mara, a guy from here now, is like everyone knew him and how he trained and whatever, and it was just big MTB stuff. And so a bunch of us got road bikes and we started doing it and whatever went on. So again, I started with literally cotton t-shirt that I cut the sleeves off and like cargo shorts, just riding around making motorcycle noises like a goon.
Nice.
Not even understanding roadie culture.
So what was the roadie culture like back then?
I grew when I eventually moved to Southern California, I landed in this place, Redlands, which has a really rich cycling culture. I'm really proud to be a part of it. There's a big bike shop there. Cycle USA is a really well-known bike shop. The guy who owns it is in the BMX Hall of Fame.
What's his name?
Craig Kundig.
Okay.
And so anyway, long story short is they're just crazy big on bikes, and they've always had race teams. And there's this other guy, Scott McAfee, who has a shop there, who's crazy into bikes. And so long story short, they're crazy about bikes. And so I was just this goon motorcycle rider that showed up on a group ride one day, and they're like, "You need to race bikes, buddy."
So I always tell my wife I'm stoked that we live in California and not back in the Midwest or South, because I was a bit of an outsider when I was a kid because I was riding bikes and I was speed skating.
Speed skating?
Yeah, roller speed skating. Yeah. So it's cool that in California, my kids, if they choose to do something that's quote unquote not a mainstream sport, they won't feel like an outsider. But it was probably so long ago. Did you feel like an outsider? Did you feel mainstream?
Definitely wasn't mainstream, but I was into dirt bikes, and I grew up in Northern California, right? Okay. And so in Northern California, dirt bikes are not cool. No one's "Oh man, you're a dirt bike rider." But down here, it's it was a big deal. Yeah, so when I came down here, it was "Oh, you're a cool guy now." But growing up in Northern California, we were not the cool kids.
No.
Right? No. And in high school, I was a woodshop kid, so it was I was never one of the popular kids. So getting into road cycling was pretty normal. But what I loved about it was that it was you could just work hard, and it was kind of work in, results out. It was a very simple equation. Yeah. And it was beautiful, right? It was motorcycling had this big element of the equipment that you had to have. Whether your motorcycle was fast or, what sponsorship you had, and et cetera, et cetera. Road was dude, if you just wanted to suffer and you didn't mind going hard and being in the pain cave, dig it a little deeper each time you're in there. Yeah. That's awesome. It was great. And so I fell in love with it, and here we are.
So when was your first road ride? You remember?
Well, first road ride.
First big club,
Oh yeah. Oh, dude.
Saturday morning. Hey. Whatever.
I went on this ride. It was called the Riverside Bike Club. Yeah. Okay. And I rode next to this guy that they called Santa Claus. Okay. And so you can just imagine. Right. He's this big dude. Okay. Oh, really? He's got a massive, pure white beard. Yeah. Okay. And we went down this at the time, I was oh, we're going down a downhill, but it was 3% downhill. It's not even downhill. Right. Right. And he was telling me how important it was to keep your feet level so you could be as aero as possible. Right. Right. And I was that was my first group ride experience, and I was just so hungry. I was like a sponge. I was so hungry for it. Yeah. I was okay, Santa Claus, whatever, dude, no problem. I just and we're doing 23 miles an hour down this downhill, and I'm level feet, Nice. So anyway.
So from that day to racing, what was the timeline? What happened next?
Probably less than a year, really. Yeah, because it turns out, there's cycling is just an eclectic group, right? There turned out that almost on the same route, on the same day, just half an hour different, there was a race ride. Mm-hmm. I go on the race ride, start smashing it up on the race ride with the guys, and there's how road culture is. There's an established thing. You have to work hard for your reputation. I didn't understand it at the time because you think it's very standoffish. But in reality, if someone makes a mistake at high speed,
yeah,
someone can get hurt. So like if I make a mistake, you would pay the price.
Yep.
So I didn't understand that in the moment. I was like, guys, I just want to pull through. Like what is it going to take?
Jerks, yeah.
Right? Why you guys being so gruff?
Yeah.
Right? But it helped me because I became, eventually you just keep showing up and showing up and showing up. Eventually they're like, the kid's trustworthy.
It's like it's almost like a meritocracy. Like you have to kind of earn your way into the trust of the other riders.
Oh, hands down, hands down. I mean, and obviously there's pros and cons to it, but like at that time, I was so hungry. I didn't care. Like I was like, guys, you can just kick me all you want, and I'll just keep coming back because I'm hungry.
Did you figure out that you were better at one thing than the other, or?
It was different because, like I mean, again, the road scene is so. Most of the guys are 30 plus, 35 plus. These guys were all guys that had like ridden the Redlands Bicycle Classic multiple times, been on teams, been on pro teams, been on Jelly Belly, whatever. Wow. And I didn't know any of that stuff, right?
That's insane.
They were just there, and I was just like, well, no one's pulling through. I might as well pull through. Like, so what? I have to suffer a bit.
Right.
So what? Drop me, I'll come back. And
cool. That's a badass group.
Yeah, no, they were good. They were good. And so anyway, we just learned from that, and then eventually they were like, okay, we can't keep this kid out, so we might as well teach him how to do it right. And then like eventually they taught me how to do it right, and here we are.
So you went pro at some point. You did how many? So it was your first road ride. A year later, you're in the racing. You're a Cat 4, Cat 3, 5, Cat 5. It's what, a couple of more years? Is it a year? Was it a pretty fast journey for you?
Oh, that's a good question. There was a hesitation when I became a Cat 3, so it was really fast up to Cat 3.
Right.
But I had this it was an absolute blessing at the time. These guys from Redlands took me under their wing.
Right.
And they were like, dude, we're going to teach you how to race bikes. Okay? And they were like, first off, you're going to watch the Tour de France because it's a national holiday. You're going to watch it every day. And you're going to watch it from start to finish. And so I'm like, I was single guy, so I'm like, well, whatever. We'll just do this. So I learned by video study, and then we would go to the races together and we worked together. And these guys were Cat 4s, and then eventually we all worked together to be Cat 3s. And then I got my 2, I had all the points for my 2 upgrade. Right? But I had built this like tremendous bond with these dudes. Right. And they're still my buddies today. Like they were all in my wedding. They were all, we talked to them all the time. In fact, one of the guy's daughters babysits my son, right? Like we're still super tight. So anyway, long story short, I stayed for an extra year, an extra season as a Cat 3 to help them get their upgrades.
Oh, killer.
Right? And it made such a big difference because I learned how to race. Because what happens if, for those people who know, if you're a Category 3 and then you have to go race as a 2, well, the way you get points as a 2 is you have to beat 1s.
Yep.
So if you don't know how to bridge that gap, you're fighting so far below your capacity, right? So I worked and I had a great coach at the time, Neil Shirley, a dear friend of mine, and he was like,
from
dude,
Indy.
Neil Shirley from Indy, right? Dude, he coached me for like 10 years. But anyway,
dude, he's strong.
Dude, he's a legend.
All right, so you're riding with Neil, and Neil's a guy who is just like the king of this ride that some of us have heard of, some of us haven't, called the Belgian Waffle Ride, which kind of brings us full circle to why we're sitting in this canyon on a hot summer day talking to you. How did you discover BWR? What was your journey from, working for your buddies to become a Cat 2 to, let's face it, winning BWR in 2018?
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's totally, they say it's like who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Well, Neil was a fantastic coach and just a good friend, and he at that time was transitioning out of pro road cycling, and he was working at Road Bike Action, and he was just like, the gravel scene was just getting started. He had all these custom stuff, and he had all these connections with, various equipment suppliers that wanted to like do cutting edge stuff. And so he put on this little event. He himself put on this little event, was like, hey, maybe a couple of people will come. And I'm like, I'm a glutton for punishment. And like, I'm one of your athletes. I get to ride with my coach. Like, I'm there. How much do I got to pay?
Sign me up.
Right? Sign me up. So anyway, that was my first gravel race. I did it on tubes, flatted, just it was a bad experience all the way through. At the time, I was racing for Elevate KHS. Well, at the time, we were KHS Maxxis Pro Cycling.
Well, and that was probably, what, 2014?
14, 15, something like that.
Tubeless wasn't anywhere near what it is today. There was no such thing as a gravel bike.
Yeah, we were on cross bikes with like 32s, and it was like not good.
And tubes.
Yeah, all of that. Oh yeah, I was filling them with slime. Oh my God. You know what I mean? It was I was like cutting the top of them, unscrewing them. It was a bad deal. Bad deal.
So fast forward to 2018.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me about that year and how things were going before you got there, because gravel had kind of become a thing by then, right?
Yeah. It was. I'll start with 2017 because that was the first year I did the Belgian waffle ride, and I'd done a couple of rides, and I just wanted to get into it, and I didn't get in 2017 I didn't get selected for the Tour of the Gila team, and so it's always. You know, Neil was always like, I wish you could do this Belgian waffle ride thing with me, but you got to go to the Tour of Gila. Right? And like, I'm no climber, you know, no surprise, you know, spoiler alert, I'm no climber. And so I didn't get selected that year for the team, and I was really bummed. I was really bummed. So I went to Belgian waffle ride. I can't tell you, like, Michael Marks and Phil Tinsman and those guys were like, you want to come? Come on, buddy. We'll make room for you. And it was super cool because they were like, hey, bro, you just come. And I was like, cool. I don't know what to expect. I'm just going to ride hard and see what happens. I ended up like breaking my hand and like crashing super hard in the lead group. It was funny.
What were you riding? What was the equipment you were
riding? I was just riding a stock road bike. Rim brakes, 23 like tubes.
No tubeless?
No.
Oh my gosh.
No, rim brake. Carbon, like I literally raced a crit on him the week before.
Oh gosh.
Like I think I had just brand new 25s.
Do you like shake your head at that guy? Like what were you
thinking? No. What I shake my head at is that like that year I think, oh darn it, who won it? He rode for Rally. He was on a cyclocross bike. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so I was like trying to keep up with him on a downhill because I'm like, well, I was a dirt bike rider, like send it. And
you got sent.
I ate it hard, like full on bang, like the shoulder was ripped apart, broke my hand. I finished, which was great, because you know when you're racing dirt bikes, like there's nothing else out there but you, and everybody invests so much in you in dirt bike riding that once it's you the pilot, you can't let anybody down. You got to step up, right? And so I bring that to the road, and like, you know, I know road culture sometimes like, oh, I did my job for the team and I quit. Right, but like I'm going to the line all the time. Nice. Right, and so anyway, long story short is I finished the race and I ended up passing Phil Tinsman, who had an incredible ride that year. Right. But I ended up passing him with like 3 miles to go, and I was like, man. PT, how you doing, bro? And he was wearing this black kit. Poor guy, so salty that day. Oh no. So salty, and he was just like, who is this cheeseball? Right. You know? And so anyway, so the next year, it was funny because Phil called me the week before the race and he's like, you're my choice. I think you're going to win it. And I was like, bro, I'm not even like, I'm just like, I did, you know, of course I'd done the Tour of Taiwan that year and all this stuff. So it was like, I was in good build-up. I was in good shape, but I mean, Ted King was going to be there, bro. Like that dude's.
He was like the king of gravel at that moment. That was like his year.
He's still legit.
All the Grasshopper series, like Dirty Kansas, I think he won that year. Like he was the thing, and I'll be honest, like I had ridden with him, I'd met him, I was rooting for him.
Why wouldn't you, dude? He's the dude.
He was like the odds-on favorite.
Right? I was rooting for him, right? I was like, dude, this guy.
So what was the equipment? What were you on?
I was on Elevate Webbyplex Pro Cycling. Okay. So we were on KHS bicycles. Right. And I was on a standard Flight 900, nothing special. It was literally my race bike.
It's just a road bike.
It was just a road bike. Just regular rim brakes, not even direct mount. Okay. And I had, here's the inside line though. Okay. I can't remember. I had bought like this pair of Shimano training wheels for my wife. Yep. And so I called, and they had the sealed rim thing. Yep. So anyway, I called my buddy Justin Dillon, who was my first mechanic on KHS. Yep. Okay, he works at Shimano, and he was like, dude, run this 50 PSI. Yep. And I was like, no way, dude. You're like, I'm going to flat these things. There's no way. And 100%, 50 PSI. So Justin Dillon, like, was the man.
Which tires were they? Were they 20?
They were 28s.
28s? Yeah. Okay, so that's a little bit of an improvement.
Yeah, a little bit of an improvement.
Did you stay rubber side down the whole day?
Yeah. Actually, everything was really good. Yeah, my wife, Joy, she's always like, because, you know, I can't help the motocross racer in me, and I love to go fast on the dirt. Yeah. And she's like, she grabbed me. She's like, you cannot go into the dirt sections first, not till the end of the day. And I was like, but I just want to go fast, you know?
Fast forward again to your reigning champ 2018.
Yes.
2019's coming up.
Yes.
Honestly, dude, I'm rooting for you in 2019.
That's humbling.
Because you had come to Temecula and you had ridden with Gil and Leighton and you're training a bunch of the guys I know.
Yeah, my dudes.
Your dudes. And I took a couple of pulls with you at the front. We got to talk to you, got to know you, and like couldn't have been more humble, more down to earth. I was like, there's no way this is the guy that just, you know, outsprinted everybody at BWR last year. So I was totally rooting for you. I didn't ride it that year, but I was watching the footage, and something happened.
Yeah.
Happened right here?
Yeah.
Is it right over there?
Yeah, right over there. Yeah, right over there.
Okay, so we're going to ride over there.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue the interview up there, and I'm asking you a few more questions about what happened.
Okay.
All right, let's suit up and go.
Yeah. Great.
So, coming into 2019, seeing who was coming.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Oh, I mean, when you see Peter Stetten is going to be there, I mean, everybody, he was the talk of the town, you know, still is.
Yep.
But, so yeah, that was, hey, I just knew I needed to be my best, and I thought that my best wasn't going to be, I needed to find more. I needed to go for another, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5%, and that's what got me into trouble.
How's that? Was it like training or on the course?
Yeah, just training wise.
Yep.
I thought, oh, you know what? I'll do more motor pacing. I'll do more intensity.
Yeah.
I'll keep the mileage up. I was always a big miles guy, still am.
Yep.
I love riding, and so I ride a lot. But really, that's what it kind of turned out to be, is that I was going to try and not just get back to where I was, but be even better. And that proved to be my undoing.
So overtraining is for real.
Yeah, you know, and I've always been such a big proponent of having a coach. I've had a coach my whole career, and you know, my wife was coaching me, and she likes to say I'm #uncoachable.
Oh yeah.
So, but anyway, so yeah, I was nervous. I was nervous for a lot of reasons, because I've never really been a champion.
Yep.
Well, I can't say never really. I've never actually been I've always been a domestique, you know?
Yeah.
And so the goal was now I had all this pressure, and a lot of it was self-imposed, but you know, the rest of that too.
Right.
That comes along with it, and I caved, right? I just went too far. I didn't listen to my body. I, you know, wouldn't listen to my wife and the 5 people that were in my corner to tell me that I could do it, you know?
Yep. So what were you feeling? What were you feeling when the gun went off that day?
Oh, I was super nervous, of course.
Yeah.
I was super nervous. Again, Michael Marks and Phil Tinsman and those guys were they gave me the #1 plate, and yeah, it was really cool. I never had one of those before, and I still have it, of course. But yeah, so there was a lot of pressure, and at the time my wife was 7 months pregnant with our son. Yeah, so it was just this whirlwind of we just had a lot going on. You know, we have a coaching business, and so business was good, and we're very thankful for that, and we're lucky for that. But business was crazy. Training, I was overtrained. My wife didn't know how to deal with this nut job, anxiety-driven guy that I was at the time, and so. And
you're the returning champ with the #1 plate.
Yeah.
That's got to add just so much at a time when you don't need that added pressure.
Yeah, I mean, again, I put it all on myself.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that put pressure, but they didn't mean it in a negative way.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to see you perform good, you know, and they see that you have potential, and they're like, dude, you can do it. You're the underdog. You know,
right.
I'm not, you know, I was a domestique on a domestic team.
Right.
Right. I'm not
racing
I've done
against
some
World Tour pros.
Yeah. I mean, I've raced Tour of Utah against World Tour pros. I mean, I've taken polls with World Tour pros, but I am not a World Tour pro. You know, I'm not. So it's fine.
Is it as big a gulf as we all hear? Is it as big a gap as?
Yeah, it's massive, man.
So they're as fast as we think they are, even for guys like you who are top tier domestic pros. They're just otherworldly.
Yeah. I mean, they're human like everybody else, but man, when they push the pedals, you know it.
So you show up at BWR that year, and it's not us and we anymore. It's Brian, without a team.
Yeah.
Against a couple of those guys we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of really good guys, man. Yeah. You got to remember, there was at that time, and still to this day, people are just flocking to gravel. It's such a cool vibe. I mean, the Belgian Waffle Ride's super. It's just a great event, right? We have so many of our athletes
royalty,
that do it.
Right?
It's
like the event, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is definitely, in my opinion, too. I mean, Unbound is fantastic, and I've been to a lot of other great events, and there's fantastic race promoters, but, I mean, I'm biased. Belgian Waffle Ride, it's the breakfast before, right? It's we break bread, Then we go out and we do this crazy crucible. Like, you're not supposed to finish, right?
Right.
Like, literally, the guy who puts together the race course is like, I don't want you to finish, and I certainly don't want you to do it fast.
And you do.
Yeah. And then you get to have like lunch afterwards and talk about all these crazy stories. So I'm partial.
So we're in Black Canyon, right?
Yes.
This was 2019 ride. You're chasing King and Stetna and I guess Collins there and all the guys who are the A-list of gravel rock stars right now, including yourself. You get to Black Canyon. I guess right here we're 2 or 3 miles up. Is that about right?
Yeah, something like that.
And how far into the race was that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it was about 3 hours, something like that.
So
ballpark, may have been less, 2.5 hours.
So
I'd have to look at my
for you
Training
guys,
Peaks file.
that's you finished in what, 7 hours? 8?
Yes, 7 hours.
So that's halfway. This
7
is
hours.
kind of the halfway point, the out and back.
Yeah.
Walk me through what happened starting at the bottom until we got to like right here-ish or wherever it happened, the moment where you got dropped.
Yeah. I knew it was a bad day really early on. I had some trouble on Highland Valley Road, which is back probably about 15 miles now, and there's some really stiff lumps.
Yep.
Whereas in 2018, I was climbing with everybody and feeling good, which if I'm climbing good, that's a good thing because I'm not a climber.
Yeah.
And I knew I was in trouble because even over the top, I was like trying to chase on the downhills and like instead of just
bad sign.
Right. So that was a bad sign. I knew it wasn't good. And in fact, at that time, one of the Hincappy guys came. I can't remember his name, but he was off the front at this point. And both Ted and Peter came to me in the race and were like, are you going to chase that? Are we going to chase that? What are we going to do? And I was like, boys, I don't have it today. I was just honest with them. Like, I don't have it today, you know.
So you're a couple of miles up the climb.
Yeah. I was in trouble early.
You're in trouble.
You know what I mean? I was in trouble because we
with
were
the
about
lead
40. Yeah, I was with 40 guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, because we go slow after you come out of the last, I think it's Muir Hodges Gate.
Okay.
The last dirt sector that drops you out on Highland Valley. And so we're just kind of cruising. And then the group just kind of keeps getting bigger as you go through Ramona. And then you come up here and it starts getting after it again. This is another great big selection
Everybody starts
component. Yeah. And so, you know, I wasn't in the top 10 guys going up this thing. I was like in the middle and I was faking it. You know, that's when you got to get this whole host of emotion because you're like, you're out of excuses. You're out of everything. Like, it's just grit at this point and you can only go as hard as you can or until somebody attacks again, which inevitably happens.
And that's the point where you lost contact with that group?
Yeah, and you can, I mean, you guys probably hear it in the mics now, like it's windy here. And this was a headwind race, headwind up this. So once you're disconnected, man, it's...
and this is super exposed.
Yeah, it's good night. Yeah. It's good night. Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to choose real quickly. A lot of people punch their ticket here and flip it, go back home, go to the next aid station, grab a beer. Oh, yeah, dude.
Wow. So what'd you feel in that moment? Like if you dig down deep and you reflect, what did you feel?
I think anguish would probably be the way to do it because it was like a mixture of like pure anger and then disappointment. Yeah. Because I was like, I'm better than this. I can do better than this. I want to show everybody that I have more than this. Yeah. And I didn't, right? And so that's actually, it's been really helpful for me as a coach because you recognize like physiologically, like you only have so much to give, right? You can be willing to give it. That's one thing. Like for athletes, we have to be willing to give it all. Yeah. But sometimes you just don't have enough. And I was overtrained. I was stressed. I was all these things, and those aren't excuses because it was me, you know. Yeah. But
so where'd you end up?
Oh, it's funny. So got dropped. Had a little pity party. Actually, had a pretty big pity party for myself. So Victor Sheldon, who is like the lead moto here, he is just an awesome dude. And he was like, comes off the back with me, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And like, oh, no. Stop playing around, Brian. Yeah. You know, and I was like, bro, I got nothing, you know, and it wasn't quite that energetic or spunky when I said it. I might not have even said anything. I might have just grunted at him. Right. But yeah, that was probably the hardest part because Victor was there with me when I won. Oh, Victor was with the lead moto and he was trying to convince me that I was leading. Right. And so here we have this kind of like dichotomy where it was like this massive high where Victor was like, you can win it, but you got to go all in. That was 2018. Yeah. And here we are in 2019 and he's watching the group go away and it's this big dust cloud and he's like, go! Like now's the time, like stop waiting, now's the time to go. And So anyway, yeah, I think that was like the visualization of letting him down, everybody else down. Yeah. And again, he's fantastic. He puts no pressure on me. It was just, I wanted it so bad, and I just I miscalculated big time.
I felt it too. I wasn't here, but I was watching the footage, and I was shrugging just like he was. I was like, Brian, what are you doing? Yeah. Get up there, go, go.
Like, woo,
it was heartbreaking because you're just such a great guy, and you're so humble, and all of your athletes speak so highly of you, and I've gotten to hang out with you and gotten to know you, and it's like, that my guy got dropped. That sucks.
No, I got dropped pretty bad, dude. It wasn't like I was even in the fight. Like the fight hadn't even started, and I was just like, bye bye.
So do you still think about it, like PTSD or like?
Yeah, I mean PTSD is probably a little strong, right? But it was really traumatic for a long time, because part of the things that I got from cycling was like it was this opportunity for me to prove that I'm good enough. Yeah. And again, to nobody else but myself, right? And it was like, oh, guess what? You're not. Oh, you know? And so there was this internal battle, and everybody's got those things. So I don't want to, pretend like my stuff is worse than anybody else's, but because I'm actually incredibly fortunate. I have, loving friends. I have an incredible wife, a loving son. We have a great business, and like I'm still a part of the cycling community. So it's not like anything got taken away from me. It was my own self-belief. But anyway, it was really, really hard for a long time. But we grow. We come back, and that's the beauty of cycling, is that if you're willing to humble yourself and try again, like if you just get back in the peloton or just get back on the horse and ride your bike again, like there's more growth that can take place. And so, I'm happy to say, like, I'm back and I'm training for BWR. I feel good. I've had some, I've won some mountain bike races this year and feeling good on the bike. Am I competitive with the top guys? Maybe not. I mean, I'm in 39 next week, so but whatever. I'm excited to be a part of the community and smash. Like, I just like to ride my bike hard. It's not that complicated. Yeah.
Well, man, I'm rooting for you again this year and every year. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.